If you have narrow shoulders and every blazer makes you look like you borrowed someone else's, this is probably why. It's not your body, you're not too small, and it's not because you can't wear structure. It's because the blazer is starting from the wrong place. The shoulder seam is sitting nowhere near your shoulder bone, the sleeve starts too far from your arm, the lapels are taking over your entire face, or the padding built a shoulder that your body never asked for, or a combination of all of those. And suddenly, you're not wearing the blazer is wearing you. This is wardrobe forensics. Last case, we talked about the blazer in general, why it looked effortless online, why it looked wrong when it arrived, and why it looked good on the model is not enough information. Today, we go into one of the biggest reasons why blazers fail, the narrow shoulder. And let's be clear, the narrow shoulder is not a body type, it is an anchor point. It doesn't necessarily mean that your hips are wider, it doesn't mean that you're petite. It just means the shoulder point sits closer together. The rest of you could be wider, shorter, taller, narrower. That's not the point. But narrow shoulders are not all the same. And if we keep treating them all the same, we'll keep buying the wrong jackets. So, when somebody says, for narrow shoulders just wear padding, know that that's nonsense. That advice is nowhere near good enough. Let's diagnose this properly. A narrow shoulder only comes down to two things, and only two things matter for the blazer. Width, how far apart your shoulder points sit. Width tells the jacket where to land, and slope, whether the shoulder line runs flat across or descends down. The slope tells the jacket whether it connects, how the collar rests, where the shoulders hang, and whether the whole jacket sits on your body or floats across it. Width and shape are not the same thing. Two people with exactly the same shoulder width can wear the same blazer and look completely different, and that's because one is sloped and one is not. There's more elements at play here. So, for example, the bust line, the ribcage size, the arm, the posture, and if you want the anatomy deep dive into these, drop it in the comments and we'll make another video. But for this video, we'll focus on width and slope because two people can both have narrow shoulders and need completely different blazers. So let's go through the types. 1. Narrow and sharp. The frame is narrow, but the shoulder point is clear. There's a sharp edge, somewhere for the blazer to sit. If this is you, you can wear clean tailoring beautifully. Crisp seams, small lapels, a sharper line, and some structure. What you need is precision. The mistake is when the shoulder is too wide, too heavy, too padded, and just too much for your frame. A narrow, sharp shoulder can carry structure. It just needs structure that respects the size of the frame, not structure that tries to replace it. 2. Narrow and sloped. The frame is narrow and the shoulder is descending. Put a very square, very sharp blazer on this shoulder and the jacket looks separate from the body. The garment line goes out, the body line goes down, and the eye is now seeing two separate lines. That's why it can read severe or boxy, and like you borrowed someone else's jacket. But the answer here is not to go completely soft because that can collapse the frame. So, soft structure is what works best. Slightly curved lapels, a slightly softer shoulder, and a fabric that's softer but holds its form. 3. Narrow and soft or rounded shoulder. Here, the shoulder point is less obvious. Sometimes a soft upper arm, sometimes a fuller bust, and sometimes the whole upper body just carries more softness. So the blazer doesn't have any hard edges to sit on. If this is you, you need support, not armor. Again, not no structure, just the right amount of structure. 4. Narrow shoulders with a fuller bust or fuller front. This is where off-the-rack blazers become an absolute disaster because the shoulder needs one size and the bust needs another. Buy it to fit the bust and the shoulder goes too wide. The whole jacket can still look too big even if it's pulling at the front. Buy it to fit the shoulder and the bust pulls, the buttons strain, So, too wide at the shoulder and too tight at the bust. So sizing up or down won't solve it. The jacket simply wasn't built for your frame. It might work for Susan, but not for you, Stacy, and that's fine. So these differences matter. Otherwise, the same advice gets handed to 5 different body types, and that's what's been happening. And apparently, I'm here to tell you about it. Now, where the narrow shoulder actually exposes the crime. The shoulder is the anchor point, but the armhole is the trap. The failure often happens because the armhole and the sleeves were cut for a wider frame. So the jacket might technically be on your body, but it's not moving from your body. It's moving from where your jacket thinks your arm starts. And this is why you can't also look at the shoulder seam alone. The shoulder, the armhole, across the back, across the front, and the sleeves all work together. If one of them starts in the wrong place, the whole jacket looks off. So when I say the blazer starts from the wrong place, I mean it literally. So your eye can see it, even if your brain can't explain it yet. Now padding, and contrary to popular belief, and you know how much I enjoy being contrary, narrow shoulders do not automatically need padding. Sometimes yes, often no. A small amount of support can sharpen a narrow shoulder beautifully, but heavy padding builds a shoulder the body can't visually support. And then instead of structure, you get theatrics, which is not usually what we want. Sometimes yes, often no. So the rule is this: padding can help when it supports the line, not when it creates a new one. Next, the lapel, because the lapel can ruin the whole thing even when the shoulder is right. A lapel doesn't just sit on the blazer. It sits inside the whole upper body. It frames the shoulders, the face, the neck, and the chest. If the shoulder is narrow, the lapel has less room to move around in. If it's too wide or too large or too heavy, it has nowhere else to go except up into your face, taking over this entire space. That's when the jacket becomes the main character. The eyes see the lapel, then the jacket, then, if we're lucky, the person. Wrong order. It's all about proportion. The lapel has to make sense with the frame that's holding it. A narrow shoulder can still sometimes take a strong lapel, but only if it's balanced. Not big shoulders and a lot of blazer plus a large lapel. Balance and proportion. You are the main character, not the jacket. Now, posture, because this one we don't realize is a factor. If your shoulders sit slightly forward or your upper back rounds, the blazer behaves as if your shoulder is narrower or more sloped than the measurements say. The jacket was cut for a straighter posture, so it floats behind you or pulls in front. I'm not here to tell you to fix your posture, although do sit up straight, dear. And now, the annoying practical truth. Shoulders are one of the hardest parts of a jacket to alter. This is not like hemming trousers or shortening a skirt or adjusting a waist. If the shoulder is wrong, it's a bigger inconvenience. It's the foundation. A badly shaped shoulder may never sit correctly, no matter what you do. So, if a blazer fails at the shoulder, don't stand there trying to convince yourself it's fine. It probably will never be. Put it down and walk away, or pack it up and return it. It's not for you. So, if you think you have narrow shoulders, here's the check. 1. The shoulder seam. Put your finger on your real shoulder point. Now look at the blazer seam. Are they close? Or is the seam floating past your arm? Is it too far out? The blazer has already started in the wrong place. 2. The sleeve. Does it begin where your arm begins, or out into space? 3. The lapel. Is it framing your face and chest, or is it overwhelming you? 4. The padding. Is it giving your shoulder a line, or is it creating a completely new one? Put it all together, and does it look like you are wearing the blazer, or is the blazer wearing you? That's your evidence. And if a blazer does fail, I don't want the mirror monologue. Oh, maybe I'm this, or maybe I'm that. No, stop. The diagnosis is simpler. The blazer is not for you. Not every piece of clothing we like we have to wear. Not every piece of clothing we like has to work on us. In fact, plenty won't. And plenty will. And that's fine. Finding the pieces that actually work for you is far better than wrestling with the ones that fundamentally don't. So a lot of the pain of getting dressed isn't that the body is wrong, it's that the body keeps getting handed pieces that were built for a different structure. And when you dress with that in mind, you dress in alignment with your own lines and stop fighting them and forcing them to become lines that they aren't. The right blazer doesn't have to shout. With narrow shoulders, it just has to land. The shoulders connect, the lapel frames, the sleeves follow, the scale calms down, and people see you first, not the blazer. So respect your narrow shoulders. They've held you up through life, and the least we can do is stop punishing them by giving them jackets that were never built for them. Next case, we move to the lapel, because sometimes the problem with the jacket is not the shoulders at all. Sometimes it's what's happening up here at the center of the jacket. Now, go look at your wardrobe like it's a crime scene. Run the checks, and you'll know exactly what failed. Subscribe, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Your wardrobe told me to mention this. Thank me later.